everyone, it's me, Aaron, Professor Thorgy, your guide to all things geeky, and all month long we have been taking a look back at 2016, but today it's your turn to take a look back at 2016. Yes, at the beginning of this month, I asked you guys to give me your top 3 favorite games, comics, and movies of 2016. Then I asked you to rank each of your submissions from 1 to 3, 1 being your favorite, 3 being your least favorite, and then I assigned every single one of those submissions points, and now I have taken every single one of those submissions that you gave me, added up all the points, and today we are going to take a look at your top 10 favorite movies of 2016. Now, if you guys want to know what all of the submissions were, I put them in the description down below. If you look in that description, you will see every single movie that you guys submitted to me, ranked depending on how many points you assigned them. Now, I will just go ahead and say there were a few movies that you will not see down there that were submitted to me simply because, well, honestly, they didn't come out in 2016. They came out in 2015. I had numerous people submitting The Force Awakens to me, despite the fact that it did not come out last year. So I hope it's okay with you guys, but I just took all the points that you were going to give to Force Awakens, and I gave them to Rogue One instead. I had to use my best judgment in that situation. I never received the proper training in what to do in this kind of situation. It was a real coin flipper. So I hope you guys were okay with that, and I hope that you enjoyed today's video. But before we get into the actual top 10, as with any of my top 10s, we're going to have a couple of honorable mentions, and because these were the movies that you guys assigned points to, I decided to take any movie that received 10 or more points and list them as an honorable mention. So, enjoy.
And our honorable mentions are Shin Godzilla, Sing Street, LaLa Land, Star Trek Beyond, and Moana. At number 10, Fantastic Beast and Where to Find Them. This was a very interesting film, not because of what the movie was itself, but because of what it was starting. This was the first film that really looked outside of the main story of Harry Potter. It was the first extended universe story for Harry Potter, and honestly, I think it succeeded. It showed that the world of Harry Potter is far more imaginative than just one school, than just one character. That there are stories to be told featuring a wide variety of characters, and especially a wide variety of creatures. That there is a magical world that extends beyond just Hogwarts. And this movie had people, even like myself, who were not the biggest Harry Potter fans, really excited to see what the future held for this franchise. So for people who were Harry Potter fans, this must have been a dream project for you. So I'm glad to see that you all voted in here because it says to me that it succeeded. At number 9 is The Arrival. Now, it is no surprise that on a channel where I talk about everything from the world of geekery, I have a lot of science fiction fans. But I am still really glad to see you guys nominate this movie this high onto the list, because this wasn't any ordinary science fiction film. This was kind of the thinking man science fiction film. This was a look at what would really happen if aliens touched down, and we approached the situation from more of a rational standpoint. It's not a story where aliens are attacking and we must defend ourselves. It's a story about what it is like to try and understand alien visitors. It is a story that follows a linguist as she tries to determine the best way to communicate with these visitors. It is a very new approach to the alien science fiction genre, and I'm very happy to see that so many people out there appreciate that they were happy to see a film that was willing to take its time, that was more about communication and dialogue than just big explosions. At number 8 is Kubo and the Two Strings. The studio behind this project is known for creating stunning stop-motion animation films, and yet with this film, I think they outdid themselves. The way that they were able to translate the rich mythology of this story and interpret it onto the screen was just jaw-droppingly gorgeous. And it wasn't just the animators who made this a great film. This really is an emotional and moving story. If you do not get a little choked up by the end of it, then hey man, I don't know what to tell you. And all the actors were able to convey their roles perfectly. This was a film that really did just set out to tug at the heartstrings of its audience, and I think it succeeded. At number 7 is The Nice Guys. Now, I am really happy to see you guys nominate this film so high because this is another movie from Shane Black, one of my favorite writers and directors of all time, and he specializes in witty crime dramas that have lots of twists and turns, stories where you're constantly trying to figure out who's on whose side, where the story is going to go, with lots of new layers being added with every single new character that gets introduced, and all along the way there is just tons of fun and witty dialogue. And yeah, he kind of did that again. This is another example of why I love Shane Black, and I'm really happy to see you guys love Shane Black too. I'd go into more detail about this, but as you can probably tell from my description, I am definitely going to be putting this on my 10 favorite movies of the year list, so stay tuned for my further opinions in that video. Number 6, Batman vs. Superman. Okay, let's go ahead and address the elephant in the room right now. If you guys have watched my channel for long enough, then you know I did not like this film. However, that doesn't mean that I don't see the things that people enjoyed about it. This really was a different film that we have seen from most superhero movies, so a lot of people found that refreshing. And also, it's real obvious from the way that a lot of people voted. I have a lot of Batman fans in my audience, and hey, I said this in my review. I do fully believe Ben Affleck's Batman was the best interpretation we have gotten of Batman in a live-action movie. So for many people out there, it was a big emotional experience to finally see the Batman that they always dreamed about finally being interpreted into a film. And not just that, Wonder Woman. For all the people out there who have been waiting years to see Wonder Woman finally pop up in a movie, not just Wonder Woman for that matter, but the whole Trinity. Wonder Woman, Superman, and Batman standing there shoulder to shoulder, going up against a giant threat. For any DC Comics fan, even if you were sitting there disliking the rest of the film, you couldn't be upset to see that finally happening. This really was an experience that so many DC fans had been waiting for. At number 5, Zootopia. Now, when we saw the trailers for Zootopia and we saw them go into the DMV and oh, aren't the sloths slow? That's cute, that's funny. Oh, I can't wait to see these wacky animal hijinks. When we saw that, little did we know this film was going to end up being one of the smartest films of the year. This is a film that made statements about relationships between groups in America and around the world in a better, more comprehensive way than even most quote-unquote adult films that attempt to tackle this subject. I will go into more details about what I mean on this when I eventually get to my personal 10 favorite films of the year, because believe me, this is going to be on that list. But even beyond that, this is still a film that is just flat out hilarious with amazing performances, and also the animation. Hey, it's a Disney animated film. You know it's going to look good. Speaking of looking good, at number 4, Doctor Strange. Now, when I heard they were making a Doctor Strange film, I thought, well, they're gonna have to get pretty trippy and pretty crazy with those special effects if they want to accurately capture the world of Doctor Strange. They took what I said and went to levels I did not even think was possible. If this film does not end up winning the Oscar for Best Visual Effects, I don't know, the Oscars must just have something against superhero films. That's all I can think, because, dear God, this was an experience unlike anything I had seen before. This was the modern day equivalent of when people went to the movies for the first time and they saw the train coming at them and they flipped their lids. These special effects in this movie are jaw-dropping. I wish I had a better way to describe them, but when you see the entire city of Manhattan being twisted and switched and flipped around in a way you could never even imagine, yeah, tell me your jaw did not drop. Number 3, Rogue One, A Star Wars Story. Disney tried something different with this film. They tried to go darker. They tried to tell stories that were outside of just Luke and Leia and Han. In a way, this kind of was a big gamble for them. And seeing you guys vote it up to number 3, not to mention seeing the profit that Disney pulled in off of this, it lets me know that they succeeded. It lets me know that they made a film that you guys appreciate and that you want to see more of. And as I said in my review, the third act of this film is quite possibly the best third act I have seen from any movie last year. Yes, I will admit I had some problems with Act 1 and Act 2, but it is rare for a third act to be so good it makes me forget all those problems. This film blew me away. And speaking of films that took a big risk and were a big gamble, at number 2, Deadpool. I don't even feel like talking about how good Deadpool is. I just feel like pointing to X-Men Origins and just saying, so we're all in agreement everybody who worked on that film is fired, right? I love that you guys voted this film this high because you didn't vote it this high just because of fan service. You didn't vote this high just simply because, hey, Deadpool's in the red suit and he's cracking some jokes in there. All right, that's what I want to see. You voted it this high because it shows that when a movie studio looks at what works for a character and realizes, hey, what if we take that thing that works for this character and just put it up there on the screen, maybe audiences will like it. Maybe the thing that got them an audience in the first place will then get them an audience again. I know, crazy idea, right? But the fact that you guys voted this up to number 2, it tells me that is the truth. It does work. You guys will go out there and support these things that actually appreciate your fandom, that actually looks at the thing that you love and goes, why do you love it? Well, let's interpret that into the film, and you will pay for it and you will vote it this high. And at number 1, before I tell you the winner of number 1, let me just go ahead and remind you guys of how I tallied up these votes. I asked you guys to submit to me your top 3 favorite movies, games, and comics of 2016. And I asked you to arrange it from 1 to 3, with 1 being your favorite, 3 being your least favorite, and then I would assign all the films that got number 1, 3 points, number 2, 2 points, and number 3, 1 point. Now, I will just go ahead and say that we did the top 10 favorite video games yesterday, and the winner of that got 121 points. And tomorrow we will be doing the top 10 favorite comic books, and the winner of that got roughly around 130 points. The number 1 movie that you guys voted on got 343 points. Not only does that eclipse both the other categories that I asked you guys to vote on, it is almost double what Deadpool got. It is shocking to me how much you guys love this film, but it really shouldn't be because it is an amazing movie. And let's be honest, looking at the other films that made it into this top 10, you've probably already guessed what's number 1. Captain America: Civil War. This film to me might very well be the best superhero movie we've ever gotten, because this is a film that took everything that worked from the previous Marvel movies. The sense of humor, the variety of characters, the stunning action, but it also addressed the problems of the previous Marvel films. At this point, everyone was getting tired of big explosive battles where they didn't talk about the consequences. They were tired of giant fights just ending up in the air between giant teams of characters and lots of explosions happening. This film came in here and said, let's talk about what happens when you have these fights. That was the question that people were now starting to ask, because we had seen too many of these giant fights, especially giant fights where no one ever discussed the consequences of them. And didn't come in here and just go, well, Captain America is right and Tony Stark is wrong. This film actually had you question the protagonist. This film actually managed to make you wonder who really is right in this, which is something that the comic couldn't even do. It is no surprise to me that you guys voted this film this high, because not only did it have probably the best superhero scene of any superhero film this year, but also because this in a way is the superhero film that you guys have been waiting for. I know so many people out there who is like, I'm getting tired of the big explosions. I'm getting tired of the villains just kind of being side characters. I'm getting tired of just the giant fights up in the air and nobody addressing any of this. This film covered all of that beautifully. This film gave fans everything they had been asking for and treated it with the sense of maturity that it deserved, but also with the fun that you needed to make it an enjoyable experience. That's it for your favorite films of 2016. We've got one more of these videos coming up, your favorite comics of 2016. And if you want to see that video as well as my personal favorite 10 films of 2016, as well as my least favorite films of 2016, I've got both those videos coming up next week. So make sure that you tune in for them. Thank you for watching, everyone. And if you want to follow me around the web, you can always find me on Twitter and Tumblr and Twitch at Professor Thorgy. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. Come back next time.